or below government, if you want to put it that way. Obamacare and the appointees will establish and enforce the regulations and policies that demonstrate a disregard for basic God-given rights, who want to control how people think, and they want us to believe, as they do, in socialism. Now keep in mind this 900-page document, 905-page document that was compressed in this law with over 150 agencies. In turn, each of these agencies will write opinions, procedures, regulations, each filling another book. By the time all of these mandates are fulfilled, the publications will be as large as a set of encyclopedia, necessitating a new breed of experts, the healthcare facilitators and healthcare lawyers. All of us are concerned as to the direct impact the law will have on us, our businesses, our communities, our families. Frankly, other than the fines imposed on not having medical insurance or offering insurance, will not know the impact until all of these 150 plus agencies implement and put their regulations in place. What we do know is that with over 150 new agencies being empowered, they do have tax and fines and regulations are going to be considerable. The devil will be in the details. We feel like that in 3 years, all private health insurance, I don't care at any level, will be gone. We feel that the cost of taking $500 billion out of Medicare right now, $500 billion out of Medicare, which will escalate in 10 years to over $1.5 trillion, and in 20 years, $3.7 trillion taken out of Medicare. So that tells you what they have an intent on their European socialized medicine. I can tell you horror stories about Canadian and European socialized medicine. A friend of mine that's an internist up in Toronto said he had a lady that came in with an early curable urinary bladder cancer. She's 55 years old. The government system put her off for 3 years. She died. Over and over and over. The province of Alberta has one MRI scanner in the whole province, 12 years old, and it breaks down 50% of the time. In the city of Tulsa, which is about 750,000, we have more MRI and CT scanners than the whole nation of Canada has. That's what the free market does for you. In this new Obamacare and the regulations coming down the pike on us and the fines for not having the medical insurance or offering insurance, we will know that what the impact will be with these regulations, and the 150 of these new regulations of being agencies being empowered. What we do know that Obamacare is a control mechanism. Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It must be a duck, and it surely is. To control your very lives, it eliminates choice. It will destroy the doctor-patient relationship. The logical end of anybody with a chronic health care problem, cancer, renal failure, heart disease, will go to the end of the line through their rationing. Every doctor will be receiving a paycheck from the government rather than the patient. The lines we talked about that are extended, that people sometimes can figure out the plot, now we start to see they can arrive at no other realistic solution than what is in front of us. It will take further legislation to finally arrive at a total socialistic medical society and government, but Obamacare is a huge, giant first step that will necessitate further inroads. We cannot allow this to stand. The John Birch Society has put us on this lecture series to anybody that will listen to us, of the 4 health professionals, the 25 speeches that we're doing this fall. We've had a tremendous response. I have in the Texas and the Oklahoma regions so far. We've had a lot of people step up to the plate and say, we want to fight it. How can we do that? Well, I'm getting ready to tell you. The points that we see now with the American people across this great land and this great states will be opposed to this if they have leadership. Many organizations will tell you the problem. And as I said, I've lectured to hundreds of groups, Tea Party groups, Republican Party groups, many groups, political conservative action groups, as well as the Birch Society. And many people tell you the problem very well, but only the John Birch Society tells you the solution. The people want the security of medical coverage. They also want control over their own lives, and they do not want to be forced into choices or have no choice at all. Once the people understand, as we're here tonight, like Paul Revere, to wake the town and call the people, and for you to go on and educate yourself with the literature at the back of the room here, the literature table, and the website, jbs.org, you can understand the ramifications of this system, that once the people that understand this, they will realize that the take-home message tonight, as well as for the future, to put the final nail in the coffin of Obamacare, is get the federal government out of health care. Get the federal government out of the medical profession. Now, certainly there'll always be risks. The insurance companies try to accept those risks, but the risk will be on individual nature. There'll never be any solution that will not involve any risk to begin with. But with the free enterprise system, and the greatest healthcare system that was ever given to us in the history of mankind, we can solve the problems without having to throw the baby out with the bathwater, as this Obamacare bill and law does. People need to accept responsibility for their lives. People need to have advocates with their family physicians and primary care physicians who are working for them, not the government. But with a government system, the risk is the process of building a total government system that will ultimately lead to hardship for everyone, increasing taxes, less choice, and ultimately government control over all aspects of our lives. Let's return once again to the reason the majority of Americans oppose Obamacare, but cannot define it. Why? Because Americans are self-reliant. It is the spirit of America, self-reliance, that built this great country. Self-reliance is what tamed the wilderness and made this country into a superpower. This law will destroy self-reliance, and deep down the people sense this. Taking that away will destroy it, and Americans sense this even if they cannot articulate it. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the choice is choose freedom. Stop Obamacare. The three-punch mechanism is the triple R's. We want to resist it by passing state laws using the 10th Amendment to stand up, as we have 38 other states now that are filing similar legislation, and hopefully Texas will in your next session. As we will in Oklahoma vote on it next month, be able to resist it. The next thing is to reject it with the lawsuit, as you have already beat us to it, and we will in the next legislative session in Oklahoma, as 42 other states are doing that. And then the last part of the triple R punch is to repeal it. And that's where it comes to you, the people, to be able to articulate to your federal officials to repeal this heinous law and get the government off our backs and out of the health care business. And I'll end in a scriptural lesson that sometimes when I get lonely, and I've heard others repeat this at the council dinner, it was repeated, one of my favorite scriptures, 2 Kings, the 6th chapter, the 6th verse. If you all remember that, Elisha was a prophet, and the Israelite army was being attacked from all fronts by the Syrian army and ready to be destroyed. And Elisha heard the message from God to move the troops around to save the Israelites, and the Israelites were safe. And the Syrians got wise to that. They thought there was an enemy, a spy in their own camp, but it turned out that Elisha was prophesizing that. So the Syrian army surrounded Elisha the prophet. You know, when you get down and out and you think that you're all in this by yourself, let me remind you what Elisha did. He said, God Almighty opened their eyes, and the heavens opened, and the Syrians saw the thousands of angels on the chariots ready to pounce on them. And Elijah said to them, the Syrians, he said, there's more of us than there are of you. So I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that there's more of us, meaning the angels in heaven and God's army, to fight this terrible socialistic government that is coming down through Obamacare. And when you get discouraged, go back to 2 Kings, the second chapter. You know, Elijah on the light side of it, the Israelites wanted to destroy the Syrians, and God said, no, feed them. And so God is compassionate enough to feed the enemy. Not necessarily will destroy them in our time, but I think the opportunity is so great. The John Birch Society's been around for 52 years. And I thank you for your attention. I will be glad to entertain a few questions, but I'm going to have, I guess, Mr. Bennett or someone come up and talk to you briefly a little bit about our sponsor tonight, and then we'll come back to the podium briefly. I do urge you to get this publication. It's one of the greatest resources, called The New American. Just so happens the issue before the last 2 weeks features our Freedom Tour of the physicians and health professionals that are traveling all across our country, and the Obamacare issue and the Obamacare 101, which is just outstanding DVD. It's inexpensive to give to your physicians and your health professionals. Rick, I'll turn it over to you or whoever you appoint, and then I'll come back and answer questions.